The home inspection period is the #1 reason that homes fall out of contract. This video, I want to provide you with valuable information that's going to help you bulletproof the sale of your home by making sure that you pass your home inspection with flying colors. So let's jump right into it. Now, for your benefit, I'm going to break this down into 8 different sections, and I'm also going to share with you some bonus things at the end. What we want to do, what you want to do when you're getting ready to sell your house is start with the exterior, and specifically the roof. You want to do a detailed view of your roof. How old is your roof? Are any of the shingles loose or missing? How are the soffits of the roof? How are the seals around the chimneys? Do you have any skylights, right? You want to check to see if there's any leaks around those skylights if you have them, or just leaks in general in the roof. Now, I'll say this, a roof is a big ticket item. When home inspectors are doing their job, they're going to spend a lot of time on looking at the large ticket maintenance items, and the roof is one of them. They're going to inspect the exterior. So they're either going to go up on the roof and inspect it, or they're going to fly a drone, or they're even seeing home inspectors with giant poles, right? Like going around the roof, checking it out with a camera attached to the end. They're going to spend, again, a lot of time inspecting the roof, making sure the shingles are in good shape. Is there any moss growing on them? How's the flashing around the chimneys? Things like that. Like, again, roof, big ticket item. It's going to either hurt your inspection, or if you take care of it and you're proactive instead of reactive, which is the main theme of this video, being proactive rather than reactive, because it's going to save you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Another part of the roof that not a lot of people think about are the gutters. So make sure that you clean out the gutters and the downspouts are working correctly, because those, again, are maintenance items and they need to be taken care of whether you're selling or not. So make sure that you don't forget your gutters and the downspouts. The next aspect of the exterior is the foundation and the grading. So you want to do a thorough inspection yourself and make sure that there's no major issues with the foundation, because a foundation issue can be extremely detrimental, especially to a home sale, and can be even worse if you live in the home and you know that you need to fix it, even if you're not thinking about selling. And you want to just go about the basement and the exterior. Check out, is there any major cracks that you've never noticed, right? And I'm talking big, long, extensive cracks. Now, there are settlement cracks, but the vertical cracks are generally the ones that pose the biggest issue. Is there any bowing in the basement of the walls? Do you live in an older home, right? Especially if you live in an older home, you have to do a thorough inspection of the foundation. And then the grading. Grading is huge. 90% of issues with water in the basement come from improper grading. 90%. So if you have any kind of issues where you're getting water, you're getting moisture in your basement, there's a very, very, very good possibility there's something off with the grading. And generally, rule of thumb is you don't want mulch coming right up to the exterior walls. You want about a foot of space where the mulching stops, right? So, these can be big ticket items as well, and you want to get ahead of them so they don't fail in the home inspection. The next up is the siding and then the paint. Depending on the siding that you have aluminum or vinyl or brick or stucco. They are big ticket items as well. So you want to do an inspection, make sure there's no holes in it. If there's chipped and peeling paint, you want to make sure that you take care of that before listing. Paint and siding are a big issue, a very, very big issue. And especially if you have stucco. Now, that's a whole different video, but stucco, depending on where you're located. So I'm here in Pennsylvania. I'm in the northeast of the United States. So stucco does not do well here. It does not do well here at all. So a lot of homes were actually built with stucco, from a certain period of time in the early 2000s. So that's something that you really need to pay attention to. Next up, you have the windows and the doors. So just an easy visual inspection. Are any of the seals broken? The easiest way for you to notice if the seals are broken in your windows is if there's moisture that's there, right? And you're thinking, why is there moisture there? It hasn't rained, right? There's no precipitation, there's no condensation in the mornings, right? And you can see that there is water, some kind of precipitation that's in that window all the time. That means that the seal is broken in the window. And then as doors as well. You want to look at your front door, the back door, sliding doors, French doors, whatever it is. Check around the exterior. Make sure everything's sealed properly. Make sure that nothing is leaking, because windows and doors are also big ticket items. And then lastly, decks, porches, patios. Decks, porches, and patios are, again, big ticket items. Everything in the exterior that I'm talking about is big ticket items. So inspect the decks. How are the boards? Does it need to be painted? Inspect the porches. Is there chip paint there? Are there big cracks there that need to be filled? Are there issues there that might extend far beyond just some kind of surface level fixing? You know, do you have to remove the porch? Do you have to remove patios? If you have brick layers, how is the sand in between the bricks? You know, like, these things are going to come up. Is there any danger of someone tripping? Is there any safety hazards? That's a big one. That's a very, very big one with decks, porches, and patios. If there's any safety hazards, a home inspector is absolutely going to call that out, and you're going to have to address it. The second portion of this is the plumbing system. The main thing you want to do here is check for leaks and water damage. There are, and believe it or not, there are a lot of cases of things leaking where homeowners just do not know. They have no idea. They have no idea until it presents an issue. I've had that before in my house, right? I had a slow leak in the basement, and I had no idea because it was in a portion of the basement which is actually finished, and I didn't know until I started seeing mold there. And I'm like, what the heck? Why is there black mold here? And then I found out that there was a slow leak, had to have it repaired. So you want to check for leaks. Run the faucets in all of the rooms where there is a faucet, and then just look underneath. All you have to do is open the cabinet doors and look underneath. Is anything leaking or dripping? You want to address that. Look in the basements. You know, again, run the water, go downstairs, look in the basement, look at the pipes, and see from a visual inspection, are there any leaks or things that you didn't know? Is there any water damage that you haven't realized? Is there any mold from that water damage that you didn't realize? Because that's a big one as well, because you always want to address mold before listing your home. The next thing with plumbing is the water pressure and the flow. You're already testing the faucets, and you've been living there for a period of time, so you know what the water pressure is like. If you have low water pressure, that's an issue. You want to get that addressed. If the flow is choppy, you know, if it comes on, and I have this one sink in my house in one of our bathrooms where the hot water works perfectly fine. But as soon as you crank on the cold water, it starts making this like really loud noise, and there's absolutely no flow at all. And it's something that we're having looked at. But, you know, these are the kind of issues that home inspectors are going to be looking for, and you need to be ahead of them. Next, you want to check your water heater, not your hot water heater. I know a lot of people want to call it a hot water heater. It's a water heater that makes water hot. It's not a hot water heater. Anyway, how old is it? One of the best ways to tell, generally they last about 10 to 12-ish years, right? One of the best ways to tell if you need a new one is if you look at the top around where the piping is. If it's starting to rust, that means that your water heater is going and it needs to be replaced. But again, rule of thumb, 10 to 12 years. Next on the list is the electrical system. First, you want to look at the wiring in the outlets. I live in an older home. It was built in 1935. So that means that some of the wiring, most of it has been replaced throughout the years, but there's still some old wiring. And that means that some of the light switches were backwards when we bought it, that we had to get changed. And also some of the outlets do not work. We pretty much made sure that all the outlets work, but there still are some that just don't work, right? And I know it's like, it's a lot to contact an electrician, have them come out and check the wiring and do all these things. But when you're in that mode of selling, you want your house to present as best as it possibly can. That's why you want to get ahead of these things and make sure that all the light switches work and all the outlets work. In that same vein, you want to make sure that all the lights work, like the actual lights. You know, if you have pot lights, if you have any kind of chandeliers in your house, so like you want to make sure that they work. And this is a note, this is a side note, when you're selling, make sure that all of the lights in your house have light bulbs that are working and that are on, because that sometimes is the easiest fix. Some people think, oh, my light's busted. No, you just need to change the light bulb, man. Come on, just change the light bulb. So make sure that they're all the same too, because you want everything to be very vanilla and universal, and make sure that all the lights are the same. And last with electrical is inspect the electrical panel. Now, I'm not saying that you are an electrician and you know what you're looking at, but you know things that have been working and you know things that have not been working. So inspect the electrical panel, make sure that there's no leaks around it, because sometimes that happens as well. Make sure that the actual panel is not loose. You want to make sure that's tight, because that's something that's going to get called out in home inspection. And just make sure that everything is working in the right way. The next big ticket item that you want to pay attention to and inspect is the HVAC system, heating and air conditioning. Big ticket item. So you either have some kind of HVAC system in your home or you don't. If you have electric baseboards, then make sure that you are inspecting the baseboards. There's no major damage. Make sure that they're all working and that they heat up properly. If you have a boiler system, you want to make sure that there's no major leaks around it. The piping isn't rusted. If you have an AC system, a central AC system, you just want to make sure that it's in the best shape that it possibly can be. And I do want to say this, for a lot of these, you want to have them inspected by professionals, right? So I know that the average homeowner has no idea about HVAC, electrical, plumbing, or anything like that. There are certain things that you can do as a homeowner, and I'm always trying to empower homeowners to, learn these aspects of owning a home and taking care of things. So when the time comes to get it fixed, you're not getting ripped off, or you can actually fix it yourself. So anyway, with the HVAC, if you have a central AC system, again, just make sure that there's no rust around the pipings. Make sure your condenser outside is working properly and there's no vegetation or trees or shrubs or anything that's growing into it or over it. You want to make sure that you protect that as well. But the HVAC system is something that you absolutely want to pay attention to. And generally, they can last up to 20 years or more. It really depends. A boiler system or a high pressure HVAC system, they could last for longer. It all depends, right? You have to have it serviced every single year. That's key. That's absolutely key. If you want it to last longer, make sure you get it serviced every single year. Now we're going to shift our focus to the interior, and specifically walls, ceilings, floors. Let's just make sure that there's no major damage to the walls, ceilings, and the floors. If there's holes, you have to patch the holes. You have to paint over it. That's a necessity. That's absolutely something that you need to take care of. Minor chips, peeling paint, or scuffs, a lot of times you can just get a magic eraser and buff out some of those scuffs. I don't want you to completely repaint a room for a few minor things, especially, and then also with the flooring too. If you have hardwood floors and maybe have a couple chips out of it, you're not going to want to replace the hardwood floors, or maybe it is time for you to refinish the hardwood floors before you start the list, because refinishing can add tremendous sellability to the property and value to the property. So just make sure you do a visual of the walls, ceilings, and floors. And if there's any major issues, then you want to consider what avenue you want to take. Doors and windows, again, you want to check the exterior of the windows. And then on the flip side, you want to check the interior of the windows as well as the interior doors. So bedroom doors, bathroom doors, closet doors, and things like that. If doors are off the track, especially with sliding doors and closets and things like that, put them back on the track. It's actually pretty easy to do, but a lot of people just live with them being off because it's what they know. But do a visual inspection. If there's any major damage to the doors or the windows, you're going to want to have them replaced, but you don't want to go crazy, right? I don't want you to completely replace all the bathroom doors, all the interior doors to bedrooms unless they absolutely need it. And lastly, with the interior spaces, and this is something that is not often done, is check the attic and the insulation. So a lot of older homes, especially mine, there was not insulation in the attic. So I'm filming this in my office upstairs, which was a converted attic, which they added insulation to. But you want to make sure, if you have a home with an unfinished attic space, make sure that there's no leaks, there's no damage. Make sure the insulation is installed properly and not hanging down, right? Because that's something a home inspector is going to watch. Make sure the flooring in the attic is okay. There's no nails sticking up or giant wood pieces sticking up. That's going to be a safety hazard because that's going to get called out as well. So just do a visual inspection as much as you possibly can and see what kind of condition your attic is in. Next, I want to switch focus to the kitchen and the bathrooms. Now, I'm not saying that you need to completely renovate your kitchen or that you need to completely renovate your bathroom, but when you're in that mindset, I'm listing my house, I want to make sure that everything is in good shape. The first thing you start with in the kitchen are the appliances. How's your refrigerator? How's your oven? Microwave, dishwasher, garbage disposal, things like that. You know what's wrong with them. And if nothing's wrong with them, that's great. But if you know that your garbage disposal has been making these crazy noises every time you turn it on, maybe it's time to replace it. Is your microwave working? How about your fridge? How old are these things, right? So you don't necessarily have to do the visual inspection, but you know what's wrong with it. Safety issues are always going to come up. So if you had some of these appliances installed, I really hope that you use professional to install them the right way, because for the most part, home inspectors are going to know and see that if they weren't installed properly, they're going to call that out as well. And that can be a big red flag. And in your bathroom, you want to make sure that you're checking the faucets like you have been doing before, checking the toilet to make sure that it's not loose and shaky and there's no leaks around the bottom of it, checking the cabinets, and this goes for the kitchen as well, when you're in the kitchen and bathrooms, to make sure that there's no major issues with the cabinets. Does every door close properly? Are there any, chunks taken out of the paint or the actual doors themselves? Things like that. A lot of this you can do with a visual inspection. Again, generally what's wrong in your kitchens and bathrooms. And then lastly, the faucets, right? So the kitchen sink faucet and then the faucets in the bathroom. Are they loose? Do they make crazy noises like the one does in my bathroom? Make sure that you have these addressed ahead of time, because they're going to be called out on the home inspection. I touched on this before, but it's important to do so again, and that's the basement and the crawl spaces. And really what we're looking for here is there any moisture issues or any potential signs of water intrusion? Because once that happens, man, you can open up an entirely crazy can of worms when it comes to basements and controlling water issues or moisture, because it gets very costly, and you have to take this on a home by home basis, and then also look at what homes in your area are like. If you're close to a water source, like if you're close to a river or lake that floods during big rains and you get water in your basement, I know a lot of people don't want to deal with it. They're just like, whatever, my basement's unfinished and I know that I get water in it and it just is what it is, and I'm just going to try and sell. Like, you can absolutely try and sell it as is. Go for it. But a lot of buyers do not want to deal with water in basements. It is my number one nemesis in the past two homes, especially the home that I'm living in now, because it didn't get water in it before. And then we had a major hurricane in 2021, and now we do. So it's like, okay, I have to get this addressed now, right? Because I've been living with it for way too long, and I know that I'm going to at least have a sump pump installed, and then think about doing some kind of foundational issues to stop the water from coming in. But I'm telling you, buyers do not want to deal with that. They absolutely do not. And it could be a major thing for a good portion of buyers, where they're just like, there's water in the basement, I'm done. I don't care how nice the house is, there's water in the basement, I'm not going to address it. Because it is one of those very, very big ticket items that you want to have addressed before you list. And also look for pests. This is something that not a lot of people think about, but do you see any mouse droppings? It's very possible. Do you live in the woods? Do you live near an area where there's just a lot of potential for squirrels getting in your house, or mice, or skunks, right? I've seen it. Skunk getting in homes, right? So you have to make sure that you check for any kind of pest issues, because they are actually easy fixes. It depends on the damage that they've done, if they've done any damage at all, but just calling a pest inspector to come out and do what they do and make sure that nothing comes into your home. It's a very economical fix, and it's something that you definitely want to address before listing. Finally, we're going to get to the garage and any kind of outbuildings that you have. So if you have sheds that were converted, or just sheds that you keep your lawn equipment in, or your garages, right? So these are things that you want to inspect and make sure that there's no major issues. If you have electrical running to your garage or to your sheds, you want to make sure that it's up to date and that it's working properly. You want to make sure that there's no major holes in any roofs or the siding and things like that. A lot of people love having a garage. They absolutely love having it. It's extra storage. They're going to park their cars in there. And they also like to have sheds as well, especially here in Pennsylvania. We love our sheds. For the most part, there's a majority of the homes in Pennsylvania have lawns and grass. So that means that you have to have lawn mowers and weed whackers and leaf blowers. We have driveways, right? We have all that stuff. So we need a place to store that. So we want our shed. So if you're selling a home with a shed and you're not moving the shed, because unless it's anchored to the property, it's technically personal item, which means that you can take the shed with you when you sell. If you're planning on leaving it here, just make sure that it's in good shape. Now I want to touch a little bit on the bonus checklist. This is what you've been waiting for.
So excited!
First, I want to talk about safety and compliance. The three main things here are to test the smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and fire extinguishers. Every house needs all three of those. Every single house needs all three of those, but you want to check to make sure that they are working. You know, test your smoke detectors, test your carbon monoxide. Make sure that if you have a fire extinguisher, which you absolutely should have one, it's not 5, 6, or 7 years old because they only last for a few years. So update them, replace them. These are safety issues, and these are things that can save lives in case of any major issues. Next is your curb appeal. Now, a lot of people do think about curb appeal when they're considering selling their home, but just do the minor. Make sure that your yard's clean. Make sure that the bushes are trimmed, the grass is cut, you know, when you're getting the pictures done. And even throughout the process, especially if you're in fall, spring, or winter, you know, or excuse me, if you're in fall, spring, or summer, you don't really have to worry about it in the winter, but make sure that the exterior of your home, the curb appeal, is on point because buyers see that first. And lastly here is the documentation. Not a lot of people think about this. Not a lot of people think about documentation. And specifically, what I mean is for the appliances in your home, for the HVAC system, for the hot water heater, for your whole house generator, things like that. Documentation is great that you can leave with the person that's buying your home, because not a lot of people know what's in your home. They don't know where it came from. And if you have the documentation, that's amazing, especially service records too. When was the last time that the HVAC was inspected? When was the last time that you had the electrical inspected? Things like that. That's what people want. That's what makes them feel comfortable purchasing your home. Now, I say all this because you are a savvy homeowner, and a lot of these things you can take care of. But what I highly recommend that absolutely everyone do is have a pre-listing home inspection. Hire a professional home inspector to come into your home, do a pre-listing home inspection. Now you know what's wrong with your home that you didn't before, and you can address it because you want to bulletproof your home sale by making sure that you cover all of the items that could potentially hurt the home inspection when the buyer has one. So if you find yourself in a position where you do need to sell your home anywhere in the US and you want me, my team, to help you find the right agent or the right investor that can help you sell, we'll do all the hard work for you. You don't have to do anything. We'll vet them, we'll contact them, we'll make sure that they are the best person for you. All you gotta do is click that link below and schedule an appointment with me. And if you're located here in the greater Philadelphia area or in the Poconos and you wanna work with me and my team, just click that link below. We'll love to chat. If you found value from this video, make sure that you stick around for the next one because I'm always giving very valuable information about the home selling process and the real estate market. Look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great day.